Hey everybody, it's your boy Jerome. I'm here today with my first review of Power Season 5, Episode 4, which was titled Second Chances. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Alright y'all, so this episode, it started out, you had James, you had Ghost, you had Kane, and then you had Tommy. They were all meeting up. And the reason for them meeting up is just so that they could devise a plan for how they can get rid of the Jimenez crime family. And you know, while they're there, Kanan mentions them using the Italians and using Teresi to get rid of the Jimenez crime family. And you know, James getting his feelings about that because, you know, when James was in prison, you know how Teresi blackmailed him twice. So, you know, he just has a little doubt in his mind about working with Teresi because of the fact that Teresi did, you know, blackmail him. And, you know, Tommy's just trying to sit there and confirm, you know, ease James' mind, saying that, you know, he spoke with Proctor about this and that Proctor let him know everything was on the up and up, that they have nothing to worry about. And then, you know, James is like, you went to Proctor, you talked to Proctor about this? And then, you know, Tommy's just, again, trying to confirm to him that they have nothing to worry about, that Teresi is on their side, which I'm thinking to myself, like, Tommy, I get that Proctor told you everything was on the up and up, but that man was facing a life sentence in jail, so I don't get how you can feel like everything is on the up and up when it comes to Teresi. So I don't get that, but whatever. And you know, while they're sitting there talking, James get a call from Councilman Tate. And you know, Councilman Tate is talking about them having a fundraiser. And if you know, when it comes to Councilman Tate, I have a really bad feeling about him. Like it's more to Councilman Tate than what we are seeing right now. But I'm pretty sure we'll see it later on as the season goes along. All right, so over at Angela's office, you have Donovan. He's bringing her in the files that he got from Sergeant Rodriguez on Ray Ray's, you know, case and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, once he brings her the files, he tells her, you know, hey, you know, Sergeant Rodriguez feels like you have something to hide from her, and which we all do know that she is hiding something. And I feel like eventually this shit is gonna catch up to Angela, even though I don't really like Angela one bit, but this is gonna catch up to Angela. It's gonna fall back on Ghost and Tasha and all of them. Angela is a sloppy person. Just putting that out there. That's how I feel about him. But you know, once Donovan leaves her office, she texts Tasha and she tells Tasha that, you know, the case is closed and all that kind of stuff. And then she puts everything in her desk and locks it up. And then, you know, she goes into her briefing. And in her briefing, they are talking once again about the Jimenez crime family and basically how they want to go after Alicia and Diego. And they figure out that the best way to go after those two is to go through their connect, who they think is Arturo, which is further from the truth. I wish they would go after that bitch Dre, but they don't know anything about Dre, so they can't really go after that bitch, unfortunately. Damn. All right, and then you get this little scene where you got Kanan and you got Ghost talking to each other. And you know, Kanan feels like he's been left out of the whole loop with where it comes to Ghost and Tommy, which he is, because they don't. Ghost does not trust him. Which, you know, looking at what Kanan is doing, Ghost has valid reasons for not trusting Kanan. So every time that they have, you know, Tommy and Ghost have a conversation, you know, they tell Kanan to go to the side, which. Cool, I'm fine with that, because Ghost is, I mean, not Ghost, but Kanan is not trustworthy in this whole situation. Kanan has done a lot of fucked up shit, so I'm with Ghost for not trusting Kanan. But, you know, they talking about, you know, the Jimenez and Teresi. And basically, this is where I actually agree with Kanan, but I know it would be really sloppy and it would be bad for Ghost and Kanan if they drop Teresi. And basically, Ghost just told him that he has a plan to deal with Teresi, which I hope is a good plan to deal with Teresi, because Teresi cannot be trusted whatsoever. Clearly, he's out of jail and he's a snitch, which I still do not get how Tommy don't see that, like, have a little bit of doubt about Teresi and him wanting to be his new, you know, the man knew about you for years, and now all of a sudden he wants to play daddy dearest to you. Like, that would raise a big red flag in my head if I was Tommy. But Tommy, so, you know, I guess Tommy has daddy issues and he wants a daddy now, so
whatever.
All right, then you get this little small scene where you got Tommy and Teresi at his parents' grave. And basically, Teresi is just giving Tommy a little bit of history about his family and Connie and all that kind of stuff. You know, I'm still on this whole thing of Tommy is not at least the slightest bit leery of Teresi. Like, come on, bruh. Like I just said, Teresi has known about Tommy his entire life. And now all of a sudden Teresi wants to be in your life. Like, that's a big red flag, Tommy. Like, think with your head. Think. Not with your heart. Think with your head. Like, you have to know that there's something off about Teresi. Like, I don't get it. All right, then you get this scene where you got Dre. He's on the phone, and Alicia Jimenez comes into the where he's at, and you know Dre was really surprised to see her because they didn't have a meeting set up, and you know Dre is just telling her that you know with the club right now they have some setbacks, and with how things are being managed and all that stuff because you got bottle girls quitting and all that kind of stuff, so they can't really just clean the money the way that they usually do because they have less staff there. And they're short $60,000, which I was like, damn, that ain't short. That's a lot of money to be short. And the reason why, you know, the bottle girls are quitting all this kind of stuff is because of, you know, the aggressiveness of Diego, and they don't like that. So you got people leaving left and right because of Diego. And, you know, basically Alicia, she was not here for that. And she said she'll be contacting him soon with a solution for all of this stuff. And I'm like, is she gonna kill her brother? Like, if she kills her brother, I'm like, damn, you are a cold-hearted person if you're gonna kill your brother. But we'll see what happens with that one. All right, so then you get the scene where you got Tasha. She's in her bed sleeping, and then, you know, James comes into the bedroom and trying to wake Tasha up so that she can get ready for the fundraiser that he and Councilman Tate are both having. And, you know, Tasha's whole thing is she doesn't know if she wants to go to this. She's not feeling up to this and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, James is sitting there trying to guilt her into going and all that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, like, if this woman don't feel like going, then why are you trying to pressure her into going? And then number two, this is something that Councilman Tate is hosting. And, you know, my thing with Councilman Tate is just exploiting the death of Raina to get what he wants to further his agenda and all this kind of stuff. And I don't see how James is not seeing that he's being played like a fiddle and being used. But, you know, he and Tasha begin to argue with each other. I hate that is a fire wagon or ambulance. That shit goes up and down the street a lot. That's gonna be something I'm gonna have to get used to. But back to what I was talking about. James and Tasha, they are in there arguing about everything. And, you know, Tasha's talking about how she's grieving and stuff. And then James is in there calling her selfish. And I'm like, how is she selfish? Because she is grieving the loss of not just her daughter, your daughter, but it's greater for Tasha because Tasha carried Raina for 9 months. So I don't get how you can call her selfish because she does not feel up to going to a social event that Councilman Tate is holding. Like, I really was confused by that. Like, Tasha is grieving and James is putting himself into work to not deal with his grief. So I don't get how Tasha is selfish. Like, I really didn't understand that. And then next you get this scene where they're having a welcome home party for Teresi. And, you know, everybody's there. You got Sammy there, you got Tommy there, you got pretty much everybody in his crew there to welcome him back. And, you know, Teresi gets up and he gives some kind of bullshit ass speech about, you know, everybody standing by him, Connie and Tommy, you know, when he was in jail and all that kind of stuff. And I'm still sitting here to myself thinking, once again, Tommy, logically thinking, this man was facing a life sentence in jail. Like, I get that Project told you it was on the up and up, but a small part of you would have to just sit there and think to myself, why now, of all times? Like, I don't know how old Tommy is, but after all the years that Tommy has been on this earth, now Teresi wants to have a so-called relationship with Tommy. Like, I still don't get how Tommy don't have a little inkling that maybe this is too good to be true. But I don't get it. Really and truly, I don't. All right, then you get James at the fundraiser. Councilman Tate comes up to James and asks him where's Tasha at. And, you know, James tells Councilman Tate that Tasha was not feeling up to coming today, so it's just him there. And then, you know, Councilman Tate was like, oh, well, you know, I'll go up and I'll give Tasha's speech. And I'm thinking to myself again, like, what? Like, come on, James. You a smart dude. Like, do you not see that he's playing you and using you, exploiting your daughter's death for his personal gain? Like, I don't get it. But then, James decides that he gets up there and he'll give the speech. And, he's trying to reconfirm, ease people's doubts about, him and his family and all that kind of stuff. And he looks out into the crowd and he sees a young girl out there. And the young girl, he keeps picturing Raina's face. And, he stops his speech and then he just hops off the stage and he runs up to the little girl who was not Raina. And, that's how that ended. So you go to the next morning where James is at their penthouse and he's clearly drunk as hell. And, he gets a phone call from somebody that was at the fundraiser, and they want to have a little bit of a discussion with him about the fundraiser and all that kind of stuff. And James is like, I'll call you later. And, Tasha comes in and she asks him, well, how did the fundraiser go last night? And, James is telling her that he kept, when he looked at that young girl, he saw Raina's face. And, Tasha was like, well, I see her every day. And, again, James is getting mad at Tasha because he's talking about, well, if you were there, you could have gave your own speech and none of this would have happened. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself again, James, your wife is sitting here grieving the loss of your daughter. Like, how can you be so selfish as to not understand what Tasha's going through? Like, I don't get it. Like, but I think what it is James is trying to avoid his feelings and all that kind of stuff, but it's still not cool to be trying to put all this shit on Tasha and make it her fault. Like, I don't get that part. I really don't. All right, and then we get this scene that really, really solidified the fact that I don't like Councilman Tate just as much as I don't like Dre. So, at Councilman Tate's office, you have Dre there, and I was like, what the fuck is Dre doing here, first and foremost? And then you got Councilman Tate sitting here talking about he wants Dre to be the face of the Queen's Child Project. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you want him to be the face of the project? Like, I'm like, James is not gonna go for this shit like 100%. And then even Dre said the same thing, like Dre, like he not, Ghost is not gonna go for, well, James is not gonna go for this. And then, Councilman Tate was like, well, if James wants this to become a reality for his daughter, he'll get on board with it. And, Councilman Tate told him that he wouldn't be in charge, told Dre that he really wouldn't be in charge of this. He would just be the face of it. I'm like, this is not going to work out. Because, like, Dre and James do not like each other because of, all this bullshit that Dre has done behind his back. So I'm like, how is this shit gonna work out? Like, how is it gonna work out? And then, once they finished talking, Dre was asking Councilman Tate, he was like, well, what's in this for me? And Councilman Tate said, it's good to have somebody in power of higher control or something like that. And, Dre was like, he got plenty of people. And, I'm like, oh my God, I can't stand either one of those two. Like, Councilman Tate he's starting to even himself out with Dre on people that I don't like. It's like, you got Tariq, Angela, Dre, and now Councilman Tate. Like, those are 4 people on this show that I truly actually add Teresi to it. 5 people that I can't fucking stand on this show. All right, then you get this scene with Tasha and her mama. Tasha's telling her mama how this Queen's Child Project is more important to Ghost than anything right now. And, she's talking about he's doing this as if it'll fix anything. And her mama told her in a way it will help him fix this because he feels so helpless right now. So he wants to do anything that he can to help someone else, which I kind of understood that logic when she said it. And then, Tasha's just telling her mama that basically she kind of want to do this stuff by herself without Ghost and all that kind of stuff. And, her mama was like, well, are you seeing someone else? Or like, is there someone else in the picture and stuff like that? And then her mama asked her about who Terry was. And Tasha really didn't answer any questions about who Terry was to her mama. But, for me, looking at this, I understand where Tasha's coming from because it does seem like Ghost is putting all his energy into this damn project instead of actually grieving the loss of Raina, whereas Tasha is grieving the loss of Raina. And they are both her parents, and you got one parent grieving and you got one parent that's just completely detaching and pulling away from everything in his life. So I actually 100% agree with and get where Tasha's coming from about wanting to do stuff on her own away from. All right, and then you get the scene where Proctor, he's at his apartment and he's having breakfast with his daughter, and then his daughter's mama come in, and you know, she's talking about how she's clean and she's gonna be studying to take the bar and all that kind of stuff. And then in front of the little girl, she's gonna sit there and tell her that she's gonna be trying to get custody of her. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, that ain't something that you sit there and tell the child. Like, you just gonna further mess up your child's head telling her some shit like that. And then, you know, Proctor is they have, you know, he tells her, the little girl, to go in her room, and they have a discussion about a lot of stuff. And you know, she mentions Proctor's possible disbarment happening and all that kind of stuff. And you know, Proctor just basically tells her, you know, he's not gonna let anything come in between him and his daughter, which I respect that. Like, you know, and then she's talking about, you know, you probably got somebody to clean up your mess and all that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, how you gonna, first of all, how you gonna sit here, come here and tell this little girl you're gonna get custody of her? Like, you're a drug addict, and you, so what, you clean for 30 days? Like, that ain't grounds to give you the child back, give you custody and stuff like that. I don't get where she was coming from with that. Like, I was with Proctor the whole time with that conversation. Like, just because you 30 days clean does not mean shit. And I also forgot to mention that once she leaves, he pulls out the paperwork, some with Teresa's name on it, and it actually had John Mock's name on there. So he shot Ghost a text, and he told him that they need to meet up and have a conversation about someone, which is Teresi. All right, and then you got this scene where you have Tommy and Teresi, they're coming out of the house. And you know, Tommy is calling Jason, leaving Jason a message and all this kind of stuff. And you got Teresi overhearing the message. And I'm like, Tommy, why the fuck are you sitting here having conversations about anything in front of Teresi? Like, you just met this dude, you don't know too much about him. So I would be kind of hesitant to mention business or anything in front of him. But Tommy gonna do Tommy. And you know, like I said, Teresi was overhearing the conversation. And Teresi asked Tommy, is there anything that he can do to help him? And, you know, Tommy's talking about how he got to throw a party and all this kind of stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, Tommy, do not accept no help from Teresi. Just say, no, I got this, Pops. Like, say that. Like, don't involve him in nothing. Like, God, Tommy, like, I really just want to reach through the TV and just knock the hell out of Tommy when I see that shit. Like, it pisses me off. Okay. So then you get this scene where you have Angela and you have Medina, and they're in an interrogation room, and they have Arturo in the interrogation room interrogating him. And you know, they have photos of Lorenzo's dead body, and basically they're telling him, you know, like how this dumbass fool was going around talking about he killed Lorenzo. No, good fucking well he didn't kill Lorenzo. And basically he tells them, yo, I didn't kill him. And they were like, well, we'll keep your secret. You know, we won't tell people that you lied, because you know that's a big thing to lie about a murder that you didn't do. So basically, for them to keep his secret, they need help from him to get information on Diego and Alicia, because they believe that, once again, Arturo is Alicia and Diego's connect. But basically, Arturo told them he's not the connect, but he did give them some information about Alicia and Diego. I think the fact that Alicia was getting ready to leave to head out, and I guess this is where they're gonna try to, you know, put their case together so that they can go arrest Diego and Alicia. But we'll see how that go later on. All right, so then you get this meetup where James and Proctor meet up, and they're talking about Teresi. And you know, James is really pissed off at Proctor because Proctor didn't tell him anything about, you know, Teresi and all this kind of stuff. And basically, you know, Proctor's telling him, you know, Tommy came to him. And basically, Proctor is scared of Tommy after what he did to Agent Markham in his apartment. So that's why he kept the secret. But he tells him that, you know, originally when he did look into all this stuff, everything did look like it was on the up and up. But he did find some new documentation that had John Mock's name on it. And now, you know, he's like, he's going to look deeper into it to try to figure out what's going on, why Mock's name is on this stuff now. And, you know, basically he's telling him that when it comes down to him and Tommy, that they do not need to tell Teresi about any of their illegal dealings right now, to keep the heat off of them. And basically, it ain't even to keep the heat off of James and Tommy. It's basically to keep the heat off of Proctor. But, you know, since Proctor is involved in all this stuff, he got to kind of protect all of them, you know. And he also tells James not to get involved into anything illegal with Tommy. But too late for that because they about to start cleaning his money again. So, it's already a done deal. So right now, the best thing for them to do is just to keep Teresi out of all of their business, which I don't think that's going to work out because I think Tommy is too trusting of Teresi, which I don't, again, see why Tommy is too trusting of this man who just came into your life recently, but what? All right, then you get this little scene where you got Tasha and she just put the baby down to go to bed, go to sleep, and Terry is there and they're having a conversation, and basically Terry is telling her about Mock calling him in to be to testify on behalf, testify against, not on behalf of, testify against Proctor. And Tasha is really worried in this situation because if Mock is going after Proctor, that means he's probably going to go after James and Tommy at some point, which would end up having them come after her too. But again, Terry does not know about the whole situation with Tariq and all that kind of stuff. So Tasha really can't say anything. But if they do that, they're going to come after her. And basically Terry's trying to put her mind at ease and tell her that she has nothing to worry about, which I'm thinking to myself, little do you know she does have a lot to worry about because there's more to the story that she did not tell you. But I like the fact that Terry wants to protect Tasha. I really do like that. It's a big, it's good to see that. So she has somebody on her side as opposed to selfish as James, who only cares about James right now. So it's really good to see Tasha with somebody that does care about her. I also did forget to mention that, when they were doing this exchange, you had Tommy over there in the cut spying on all of them and all that kind of stuff. All right, and then back over at the FBI office, you got all of them over there celebrating this big victory of getting the Jimenez cartel. And, they're talking about, who's going to go in there and who's going to interrogate them. So Angela's like, you know what, since I did it, I'll go in here and I'll talk to Alicia first. And then, on her way in there, that's when her date Steve comes up, and he's like, none of y'all are talking to them. He says, I'm going in there to talk to them, and it's going to be unmonitored. So once he goes into the room with Alicia, he unplugs the video, the camera on the wall, and he sits down and he talks to Alicia, and basically he's telling her that he has to let her go because his superiors want him to let her go. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, watching this, I'm like, there's something off about this. I'm like, first, when he first came in there, I'm thinking to myself, oh shit, he's in Jimenez's pockets. But then after listening to him talk, I'm like, maybe he's not in their pockets. It's maybe he and somebody, maybe somebody else is controlling him in this situation, which I don't know who that could be. But he's sitting there telling her that he has to let her go. That if he he wants to do this, but he wants to do it on his his way and all that kind of stuff. And I was like really, really, really confused by that. I'm like Angela them had concrete evidence and you still have to let them go. Like, that baffled me, that confused me. Like, why are you letting them go if FBI has, all the legal, all the stuff that they need to arrest them? So I was slightly confused by that. All right, and then you got the meetup with Diego, Alicia, Dre, and Cristobal. And earlier, Alicia told Dre that she would call him and contact him about how things are going to go forward with the $60,000 that he was short because of Diego, being so aggressive in the club. So once they meet up, Diego gives Dre a bag. Dre opens the bag, and it's the $60,000 that he needed. And Alicia tells Dre that she wants him to teach Cristobal the ways of doing the money, cleaning the money and all that kind of stuff. But Dre is a little bit hesitant about this. And, Alicia's whole thing is, he's your lieutenant, like, use him as your lieutenant. And then, once they leave out, that's when the FBI agents pulled up to go arrest Diego and Alicia. And, Angela looked so pleased with herself, which I'm like, kudos to you, Angela. But I'm thinking to myself, this is not going to last long. Like, there's going to be some kind of legal loophole that gets Alicia and Diego off. But we'll see how that goes. All right, and then once Alicia and Diego are released from the FBI, Alicia starts questioning Diego about like what happened to his gold gun and all that kind of stuff. And then he's telling her all kind of stuff. And she's like, "Well, you dumbass fool. That's the reason why they arrested us in the first place, because the FBI had your gun. Like, you realize that's why we were arrested." And then while they're in the car, she's telling him she wants him to ease up off of Dre, which I'm like, shit, don't ease up off that bitch. Push hard on that hoe. Sorry, y'all, if y'all don't like the cussing. Sorry. But, she just wants him to ease up off of it. And Diego wants to know, well, what do you have going on with Dre? And, she's talking about, he's running their business for them. And because of him, they're able to expand and all this kind of stuff. So that's why she wants Diego to back up off of Dre. And I'm like, fuck Dre. For real. Fuck Dre. All right, then you get the scene where Angela's in her office. Like, this was supposed to be her case to make her career and all of this stuff. So she just pissed the fuck off at this point. And Steve texts her talking about how he's been thinking about her, and she was about to text him, "You motherfucker," but she decided not to text him that. And she puts her phone down, and then she looks at the file that's on her desk from the U.S. District Attorney's office, and she starts flipping through the files and all that kind of stuff. And then she notices that there were some wiretaps and some tracks, and one in particular was for Tommy. And I'm like, shit, like, wait, when did they? Oh, John mocked them. So I don't know what Tasha's, not Tasha, but what Angela's thinking. But I'm like, damn, come on. Like, I think Angela's gonna be the reason that they get caught up in everything, because everything that Angela is doing is really, really sloppy. I don't know how y'all feel about it, but that's just how I feel. Everything that Angela is doing is completely sloppy. Then you get this little scene where you got Dre and Cristobal. They're talking about everything. They're talking about, well, the feds hadn't came after them, for Alicia and Diego's dealings and all that kind of stuff. And then, Cristobal saying, well, we got a rat in our system, and, that'll give Tommy, Ghost, and Kanan free reign to come after them. And, Dre's talking about he's not worried. I'm like, you little bitch, you should be worried, because they are going to come after you. You do realize that eventually your ass is going to get got. Like, I really am looking forward to the day that they get that bitch for real. Like, I cannot stand Dre. Ugh. And then get this scene where Proctor is once again at his home with his daughter, and in walks DHS agents, and they come in there with the search warrant, because that was the last place that Agent Markham was located at, was tracked at, and all that kind of stuff. So they come in there with their search warrant. They're going around the apartment looking at the at his stuff in his daughter's room and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, why y'all in his daughter's room? Like, I get he's missing, but what the hell does a little girl have to do with anything? I didn't really understand why y'all going through a child stuff. I know when it comes to search warrants, you have to search everything, but a kid, like, who knows? And then, probably just asking who issued this search warrant in the first place. And then he figures out that it was John Mock. And I'm like, damn, Mock is really trying to build a case against you, James, and go after all of y'all. Like, Mock is a bitch. I really don't like Mock either. Like, he's a complete bitch. And then we get Sergeant Rodriguez. She's meeting with the guy that Angela used his information to wipe all that stuff, Tasha's gun, out of the system. And, like I said, she's meeting with him, and she's questioning him about his suspension and all that kind of stuff. And, she's asking him, well, who else had access to your password? And then, she's telling him how she has a theory about who, what happened and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, damn, Angela. Like, you can't do shit. You can't do nothing right, Angela. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, you can use somebody else's shit, like, that wouldn't tie back to you. Like, I can't stand Angela. All right, then you get the scene where James comes into the penthouse, and Tasha's mama is there with the little girl. And Tasha's just packing up her stuff because Tasha is done. Because, again, James is not grieving for Raina. He's just pushing all of them away. And, Tasha is, at this point, she's over it. She wants out. And, James is sitting here telling her that he's not, he's leaving her. And Tasha was like, you left me a long time ago for Angela. So what are you talking about? And, what the hell? Yeah. Yep. Oh, she did tell him about how she told Tariq about their what the neighborhood that they grew up in and all that kind of stuff, and she wants out of the marriage and all that kind of stuff. And I can understand Tasha's frustration because again, James is being selfish. He's telling her that she's being selfish, but it's actually you, my brother, that's being selfish because she's grieving for Raina. You're not. You just pushing people away and then you getting mad for what? Like, it's not helping anything. You getting mad and you pushing her away is not gonna bring Raina back, unfortunately. So y'all need to, James should have got on the same page with Tasha and tried to figure out how to make things work so that they could, grieve together as parents for the loss of their daughter. Like, it's just that simple. All right, and then you get Kanan. He's meeting up with his dudes to set up a fake robbery or a fake drive-by. He give them a gun, he give them blanks so that they can shoot the blanks at Tommy them. And, Tommy texts Kanan about coming up with a plan to get rid of the Jimenez and all this kind of stuff. And then that's basically where Kanan wants all this stuff to get taken place at, when he picks up Tommy. So that he had, like I said, he gave his guys the guns with the blanks so that they can pull up and start shooting the blanks. And I don't really know what Kanan's plan is with that, but I really don't understand that. I get what Kanan wants to do. He wants to take over, but shooting the blanks at Tommy them, I wasn't drawing a comparison of how that would help him. And then you got Proctor. Proctor walks up on Mock and the other guy, and Proctor goes off on Mock about having the DHS come to his house where his child is with the search warrant. Like, that was a pussy move, to be quite honest with you. Like, you want to come after him, but don't involve his daughter and that kind of stuff, which I was on Proctor's side with that one. And basically Mock asked Proctor does he have any information about Agent Markham, and he tells him no. And basically Mock is just using Proctor just to get anything that he can on Angela, Ghost, and Tommy, which I think is fucked up, if you want me to be honest with you. All right, and then you got James. He's meeting up with Councilman Tate, and this is where Councilman Tate is finally telling him about that bitch Dre being the face of the project, one of the faces of the project. And James is just having to put on a happy face about working with the bitch. And then you got Dre over here giving some bullshit ass story about they worked together, the business relationship fizzled and burned, and now they're working together again. And it's just good to see James put the differences aside. And I'm like, you punk ass bitch, if it wasn't them room full of people, James would have done beat your bitch ass by now. But since it's a room full of people with money, he can't attack you, unfortunately, like, you punk ass bitch. Like, I really can't stand Dre. Ugh. All right, and then we got where Kanan is going to pick up Tommy, and his dudes are in place, and instead of them niggas using the blanks that Kanan gave to them, they decide to use real fucking bullets to do the drive-by, and they pull up, start shooting and all that kind of stuff. And then Kanan realizes that those are real bullets that they shooting at, so Kanan pulls up and he starts shooting at both of them, and he kills both of them. And then they go inside and they talk. And that guy that Tommy had the meeting with last week about when Drake killed his two people, he's asking Kanan about was that about Tommy, Tommy's drug dealers and all that kind of stuff. And basically Kanan tells him that those were dope boys and all that kind of stuff. And then he started looking at Sammy, because Sammy lied to him last week for Tommy, because when Tommy told him that he took care of the people who killed his boys, now he's kind of putting two and two together that he was lied to by Tommy and Sammy. So we'll see what happens with that one going and forward. Then you get this scene where Mock and Sax call Tracy about the deal that they made. And Connie overhears the whole thing. So once Tracy hangs up the phone, Connie asks Tracy, who are you talking to? And she's also questioning him about why is he even out of prison. And like, you're not happy that I'm out of prison? She's like, yeah, she's happy that he's out of prison, but she just feels like there's something that he's not telling her. So they sit down, they have a conversation, and basically he tells her that the only reason why he's out of prison is because he made a deal with them to get information on Ghost and Tommy, because the FBI has a hard on for him. And so she was like, so you're a rat? And he's like, no, he's not a rat. He's not going against the family or anything, which technically you are going against your family. That's your son that you are going against. Like, you, I'm like, whatever, I don't care. And, you know, Connie's not worried. Connie's more so worried about if Tommy or Jameson finds out that they gonna, you know, kill Tracy, which they will. And I hope that they find out soon so they can kill him. But, you know, so once they didn't even finish talking because Tommy was blowing up Teresa's phone, and then, you know, Tommy knocks on the door and he asks Teresa why didn't he answer the phone, and Teresa was like, you know, I wonder my phone or some shit like that. And then, you know, Tommy comes in, tells him about the shooting and all that kind of stuff. And then, you know, Teresa's asking him, can he help him? And I'm like, Tommy, tell that motherfucker no, he can't help you. Like, he is using you. I know Tommy don't know that, but it's just frustrating the shit out of me that Tommy don't see that there's something off with Teresa. Like, you don't really see that. And then you got this little scene where Sergeant Rodriguez is in her office, and there's a big board in front of her office, which she opens up, and she's trying to connect the dots between Ray Ray's death, Raina, Ghost, and Angela and all that. And I'm like, damn. I'm like, Angela, you went in there and got that, you know, Ray's stuff, but that did not stop that bitch from coming after you guys. If anything, that intensified her wanting to find out what is going on. Like, Angela, you are being so fucking sloppy. Like, I don't get it. Like, what the fuck? All right, and then lastly, you got this scene where Tosh is at her new place, settling in, and then, you know, James is walking into the empty ass penthouse. He's calling Tommy, telling him about the meeting they had with Councilman Tate where Dre was there, and if they have a bigger situation, and he needs for Tommy to contact them. And then once he hangs up the phone, he gets a phone call about meeting up with someone somewhere. So James asks where to meet up at, and then he goes to this little cafe, and he's sitting there waiting for whoever he's meeting, and then eventually the person that he's meeting comes in, and surprise, surprise, it's Angela. So, you know, he asked Angela why did it take her so long to contact him, all that kind of stuff, and she just had other stuff that she's been doing. And I'm like, whatever, Angela, fuck you and fuck James at this point. Like, I just can't stand her. And then, you know, she asked James, is he okay? He says no. She asked him, is he okay? And he says no. And, you know, that was the episode. I'm sorry if this was all over the place, but like the video, leave your comments, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys later for Real Housewives of Potomac.